Hello again. Welcome back to Billy Ho's Sports. Well, make sure you set your calendars for next Saturday, April 26th. That's going to be the post draw for Derby 151. But before that, we're going to go over the top contenders. We're going to assess their chances, review the past performances, which we have been doing. If you need to check out my Derby prep race video where I rated all the 7 big 100-point prep races, I thought that came out very well. Got a good response. I appreciate everybody that watched it, commented on it, and are showing up video after video with great comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. But today we're going to do all that, and then we're going to look at a little pedigree, contrast styles, and we're going to build a top 10 list worthy of debate. Now, giveaways, real quick. Giving away the 1974 100th anniversary Kentucky Derby glass. That's going to be awarded after the Derby, but here's how to enter. Subscribe to the channel first and foremost. Free and easy to do. Next, leave a comment in the official post-draw preview show with your pick to win the Kentucky Derby. Then just like and share the video and you're in. So for today's giveaway, though, we are going to spin for the next video. So just leave in the comments. Tell me which one of my top 10 horses are a hard no for you and why. And let's just stir up the pot a little bit and have some fun. We still got 2 weeks to go before the big day. So let's begin with journalism. That's trained by Mike McCarthy. Umberto Rispoli will be the jockey. Nothing short of amazing. Sired by Curlin. You know he's got that grinder mentality. Coupled with the Dam Sire, I'm going to start looking at Dam Sire. So like Broodmare Sire, Uncle Mo, who had that explosive speed. So I like the San Felipe actually a little better than the Santa Anita Derby. I thought Rispoli was jacking him around too much in the Santa Anita Derby, but he still got it done, obviously. But it is tough for me to to show some objectivity in a 5-horse race. It's tough. But the pressure is going to be all on Rispoli, I think. Love the guy on turf, but he's only ridden in a couple of derbies. He rode last year. He doesn't have the, savvy experience like a Mike Smith, a Johnny V, Rosario, those guys. He did ride Endlessly last year. I went back and looked at that race. Endlessly was a far inferior horse. Did win the Jeff Ruby, but was nothing compared to some of these horses here. But he was dead last and improved that horse up to 9th position. So I guess technically he beat half the field. So a pretty good ride by him in that race. So maybe he'll come around a lot better. But obviously he has all the tools to win this race with journalism. So he's probably going to be your number one. These aren't exactly in order, but we're going to go Sovereignty next. And Sovereignty will have Junior Alvarado. He's already back riding at Keeneland. That's Bill Mott's horse, and he's more experienced than Rispoli in derbies. This is going to be his 3rd in a row, 6th overall Derby. But he hasn't had great success as far as finishes. But he's also been on some less than stellar horses in that time span as well. So I think what separates him is he's got a little more riding experience at Churchill. He rode Sovereignty to victory in the Street Sense last fall, where they dusted both Sandman and Tistastic, who we'll be getting to in a little bit. So stick around. Speaking of Sandman, I am sporting the Metallica gear today because officially he is named for the Metallica song Inner Sandman, but it is for Mariano Rivera, the Yankees closer, and that was his music that he played before walking out in the 9th inning to knock the daylights out of anybody's chances to beat him in the 9th inning. So Sandman, being of that kind of closing ilk, is a very fitting name and should be make for a fun storyline. So Burnham Square is my next up. His potential obviously was when they added the blinkers and he just popped right away. I don't think he's wearing the blinkers anymore. I'd have to go back and look at the Bluegrass again. I thought they took him off for that race, but don't quote me on that. But he is trained by the Aussie Ian Wilkes. And I looked into Ian Wilkes. I've obviously seen his work, but I really didn't know how he came about. From Australia, mentored by the great Carl Nafsker. Nafsker kind of preached patience, building from the ground up. horse first, taking care of the horse, making sure that the horse is not being put in any difficult situations or harm's way. So it kind of explains the 3 tries before he actually secured the maiden victory. But he actually debuted with a splash in 2025 with that convincing victory in the Holy Bull when he out drove Tapen Street down the stretch. And boy, did he look good in that race. I really liked that race. All easy Zahas had to do was show him the whip. He was just kind of just flashing it in his face. He wasn't cracking down on him very hard. And he just saw that whip and just buckled down and it's straight beeline for the finish. So the Fountain of Youth, less than stellar effort, but it wasn't as bad after re-looking at it. So Brian Hernandez took over for the Bluegrass, bounced back in a huge way, obviously, chasing down a game East Avenue. Now, I want to caveat the Bluegrass after I went back and through, and I've got another video that's going to examine fun stuff like all the times of the 7 prep races and what they call the run-up, which is the amount of feet of distance from the starting gate to the point where they actually start the clock. So the further you start, the better your time looks. And people have been hemming and hawing about the several, like Florida Derby was 130 feet. Some of them were 80, some of them were 50. So things of that nature. How does that affect time? Blah, blah, blah. So we'll cover that just as a fun thing to do beginning next week, maybe. But anyway, this actually race, East Avenue went fast early, then slow late, which kind of set up Burnham Square for that close. So that's kind of a perfect segue into Tapen Street, the horse he beat. So Tapen Street, Brad Cox, Luis Saez. In his defense, it was only his second ever start losing to Burnham Square in the Holy Bull. So that was a huge race, though. He's maturing at an exponential rate, really, because you see that huge move forward into the Holy Bull and then to the Florida Derby champion. I mean, it was just really just a consistent pace. If you look at the Florida Derby, which it was, like I did say, that 130-foot run-up did affect the times a bit, but I did some calculations with the help of AI to just kind of compensate for things to see how it shook out. So that's another thing we'll look at down the road. But they came home in 12:68, which is less than elite. But the fact that Tapen Street had kicked clear of both Matticat Road and Neo Equos, then he just kind of took his hands off the reins the last 30 yards or so because Sovereignty was closing but wasn't going to catch him. So it was just kind of like that, just taking your foot off the gas, crossing the finish line kind of thing. So it suggests he probably, if he was pressed, could have done it in under 12.5 on that last 8th mile. So anyway, it's giveaway time. So yo, DJ, spin that wheel. Congratulations at Chuck Tap and at, it looks like Eligi. I'm not really sure, but Eligie. You two will win a vintage Kentucky Derby glass. All you have to do is email me at billyah35@yahoo.com. And just send me your address and I will get a vintage Derby glass out to you right away. So congratulations again, and let's move on to Rodriguez. And Rodriguez took New York on like King Kong in the Wood Memorial. King Kong didn't have nothing on him, so to speak. So we know how it happened. You've seen it, enough replays. He had the inside one post, catbird seat, fast horse, veteran jock, broke sharply, got the lead, ran a legit, really strong pace pretty much across the board, closing in 12.47 for the final 8th, which anything under 12.5 is pretty strong. So he looked like he still had gas in the tank too. And yes, the inside post ground saving helped the whole way as well. But uh, I think it was one of the better Derby prep performances on paper in terms of pace plus stamina plus time. So that leads me right into Grande, and that is another lightly raced colt that is just scratching the surface on his ability. Another son of Curlin with explosive speed on the broodmare side. The damn sire is Warfront, who was very explosive in his own right. So coming from the connections that brought you fierceness last season, Mike Rapoli and Ty Pletcher, they have a good one on their hands here, I think. And so his first couple of races, he was a little green, but he was on the lead, going one turn, doing a one-turn mile at Gulfstream Park, and he was all up on the 1-2 chalk Camp Hale, and then outlasted him down the stretch for an easy win. So that kind of put him on the map. And then Pletcher, obviously, if you've listened to my previous videos, he sent him out to the next race and went 2 turns, mile and an eighth, and he got it done again. So the rest is history, so to speak, so far. But just to mention Camp Hale in that 1-2 horse, very close to breaking his maiden. He just missed recently at Keeneland going 7 furlongs. It was chalk versus chalk because it was another horse by the name of Invictus, who is, by the way, Brad Cox's horse. Keep an eye on that one too. Invictus. So down the road, that horse got the maiden victory, and they were both they were both 0.70, 0.8 odds, I think, odds on favorites, co-favorites, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, that is all for Grande. So now we go to the Enter the Sandman, and I'm not going to sing the song, but Off to Never Neverland, so to speak. So this is Mark Cassie's horse, and Mark Cassie has visions of roses dancing in his head. So especially after that big gray rolled home in the Arkansas Derby, which we all had that, I do believe. And so definitely an experienced 3-year-old, unlike Grande we just spoke of. This is a 3-year-old colt by Tapen, who raced at both Saratoga and Churchill Downs in the fall, and then did all his 3-year-old work at Oaklawn. So he really had a rough go of it in his first couple of races. The Southwest, he had a terrible start, but then somehow miraculously rallied from downtown Hot Springs to get second place there. So then once again found himself chasing Cole Battle in the Rebel, but he then flipped the script on Cole Battle in the 100-point Arkansas Derby. So he's been consistent. He's not really a plotter. He's a closer, but he's prepared for a hot Kentucky Derby pace to set up that late rally. So I think Cassie's pretty confident. I believe this colt will be a factor in this race. And we have to include the grays, especially if they're good. So definitely, we don't know what the Kentucky Derby day will be like, but if you live in my area, Louisville, real close to the track, nearly every year it rains either Oaks or Derby Day, it feels like. So last year, Oaks was the slog fest. It was a super wet day on Oaks Day, and then it kind of dried out, but it was still sort of just getting to got back to normal by Derby time that evening. So anyway, if it's a gray day, you got to bet a gray horse. So speaking of which, Final Gambit, I believe these are the only two, Sandman and Final Gambit, as far as I know, are the only two grays that I saw in the field, at least the only two I care about. The Final Gambit, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about him. These touts and these cappers are coming out of the woodwork, telling you they're the ones that found him. He's the diamond in the rough. Nobody's ever going to know. He's going to be 50-1. No, he's not. He's going to be trained by Brad Cox, and he's going to be coming to Louisville off winning the Jeff Ruby, which people all know produced Rich Strike a couple of years ago, produced 2 fills, and has really, and word going around that horses leaving Turfway Park are just destroying horses all over the dirt tracks across the country. So all that said, he began his career on the Churchill Downs turf, and then he finished a really strong rally in third going 8 furlongs. Then he went to Turfway Park, really took to that all-weather track, but his style fits the Derby, the Jeff Ruby explosion, 12:19 coming home, which is flying. And it was a pretty fast pace for synthetic, actually, and we'll cover that as well in that next video I told you about. But I love the schooling. Check this workout I pulled off of YouTube. And shout out American Pharaoh 12 for his channel. I subscribe to him and for that video that I scooped. So anyway, he's getting schooled and on the track, just kind of leading around. The outrider is leading him around the track, and he starts dipping over toward the rail, and he brings him over to the rail, and he's kind of hiding him from it, and then he shows it to him, and then he kind of just takes him down the rail, and he's kind of getting a sniff, taking a whiff, getting all the atmosphere of Churchill Downs in his lungs, and then after a couple of little gallops, he cut him loose, and the exercise rider Vargas took him tight, like on the rail, scraping paint on the rail, which tells me they're looking for that inside ground saving trip, and maybe even that old inside rail squeeze that Mystic Dan did last year. So maybe they think they can position him like that, and maybe that's how they steal it. Because if he can hit the stretch like Mystic Dan did, this horse, the way he closes, it's going to be blowout city. But this is just speculation on what I saw with my own eyes. So anyway, he's going to be a lot more than a long shot by May 3rd. He's going to be like almost the wise. But if Baeza gets in, which we'll cover in a second, that's supposed to be the wise guy horse. So I still think by Derby time, this horse is going to be low 20s to mid 20s to 1, which is very fair to me. He's by Tapen, so he's bred for stamina. His dam is a blue blood broodmare who bore Forever Young. So that tells me that's going to be a factor in the Kentucky Derby. So now we'll move on to Tistastic from the Steve Asmussen barn. This contender will have Joel Rosario riding. The Louisiana Derby, grind him down, effort to win, long, grueling 9.5 furlong race. A little bit better close than I first thought. I thought he just wore them all down, but he was actually moving on the turn really good. Joel got him going. Joel can do that. But he also, I like the fact that he's gone 2 turns at Churchill Downs in 2 separate graded stakes races. Obviously, he was second behind Sovereignty in the street sense, but he was third behind First Resort and Jonathan's Way in the Kentucky Jockey Club. So he's got experience on the track. And he's gone 2 turns multiple times. He's just getting more mature as they go. I don't know if he's fast enough, but he may not need to hit the board, as many of them drop like flies down the stretch if the pace is contested like a lot seem to feel. His sire is Tis the Law, who I almost completely forgot this 2020 COVID year. It seems like it was just a blank in my memory for some reason. But that season was kind of dead. But Tis the Law was a beast. He swept the 2 races in Florida. Then he won the Belmont. And since they ran the Kentucky Derby in the fall, he went after a 3-5 favorite, Authentic, and they hit the 2 stretch side by side. And Authentic just flat out beat him heads up. It was a really great race, and he doesn't have anything to be ashamed of. Obviously, he's been one of the greats. So anyway, now we're gonna have to queue up the Tom Petty, because the waiting is the hardest part. Baeza, waiting on if he's going to get into the Kentucky Derby or not. Of course, he ran a monster in the Santa Anita. He owned Citizen Bull down the stretch, was only bested by Jesus resurrected as a horse named Journalism, and questioning the sire a little bit, McKenzie, but the dam side is loaded. Dam is Puka, and that's by Big Brown, and we remember Big Brown. But you probably heard it already. They were the full brothers, Mage and Dornick, both half brothers to Baeza. So that's good enough for me. They paid $1.2 million at auction for this horse too. So he's going to be a legit threat. And Mage was also a lightly raced horse, only 3 starts before the Derby. Baeza technically was not unraced at 2. He just took to the turf in December, and it was kind of just get his feet wet. And then he ran a mile and was beaten only by Rodriguez. So he ran that same distance again, blew him out by 4.5 lengths. And he was foaled in mid-May too, so he's a couple months behind most of these contenders. And even if he doesn't make it to Churchill, or if he does and he doesn't win, look out for him down the road, because he's going to mature similarly to Authentic. Authentic was a May foal, and he didn't, and he was fortunate enough to have the delayed Derby in the fall to give him about 4 more months to mature. So that's going to do it for the video. That is your 10. So how do you think we're going to rank them? Well, I'm going to give number one to journalism, but I'm kind of partial to sovereignty, number two. I need to confirm, like I gave advice out, I want to confirm they don't get an absolutely horrible post draw. So before I start getting myself all gaga over a horse, but I really like the way sovereignty's looking for this race. Journalism, obviously the same. They're kind of 1 and 1A for me. 3 Rodriguez, it looks great. I like him because I think he can rate a little more. Everybody just seems like he's a front running Baffert horse, but he was behind the rest of the Bafferts for his entire career until he got the lead in the Wood Memorial. So what's that tell you? He knows how to follow. So anyway, then I got number 4 Tapen Street and 5 Baeza. I'm putting Baeza 5. We don't know if he's in or not, but I think he's good enough to be there in the top 5 or 6. Speaking of 6, it's Grande. Then I come in with 7 Burnham Square. I give 8 to Final Gambit. Number 9 is Sandman, and number 10 is Tistastic. I know, I'll probably hear it in the comments that Sandman's 9, but like I said, it was tougher than I thought. Once I got past journalism and sovereignty, and probably Rodriguez is still solid third for me. Then it was like Tapen Street, Baeza, Grande, Burnham Square, Tistastic, Sandman. All of them really. I mean, I guess technically, if you want to just diss Final Gambit, you could put Final Gambit 10 and then rearrange any of those any way you want. I wouldn't argue with you. But remember those comments and get them in there. Tell me which one of these 10s you're a hard no on and why. So spread the word around. We're almost there, folks. 3,000 subscribers. It's within my sights. Probably somewhere around 170 to go. So I think we might have a good chance to get there. It's going to be close. It's going to come down to the wire. So let's help old Billy Ho get across. And I appreciate everybody joining me. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you soon.